a lot of our thoughts are not who we are, but we think it is who we are. And then we believe that about ourselves, and then we hate ourselves for it. We all have a shadow.
Welcome to the Rebel Health Coach Podcast with Tom Underwood. Armed with truth and knowledge, your journey to a healthy lifestyle can be obtained. Preventative wellness, quality nourishment, and daily fitness routines dramatically improve your outlook on life as a whole. And you'll find the support and info you need to accomplish a healthier lifestyle here. Together, we can empower each other along our journey to an amazing you.
On today's episode of the Rebel Health Coach Podcast, I have Dr. Lisa Templeton. She is a clinical psychologist, author, musician, poet, and spiritual guide. She founded and owns the Interpersonal Healing Clinic, providing compassionate clinical care for all ages and backgrounds while addressing the importance of our relationships with each other and ourselves. She is a co-director of the Shaman Star, a spiritual organization guiding and empowering individuals to understand their divine nature and increase conscious self-awareness in the world. She resides in Broomfield, Colorado, just outside of Boulder, with her family. She is also the author of an amazing book called Letting It Be, Mindful Lessons Toward Acceptance. I highly suggest you go to Amazon and grab a copy, and I will provide a link for that in the show notes. Thank you and enjoy the show. Lisa, welcome to the Rebel Health Coach Podcast. Before we dive into your new book, Letting It Be, Mindful Lessons Towards Acceptance, tell us about yourself and how this book came about.
Well, I am a clinical psychologist. I'm living in Denver and been practicing for several years, doing my thing. Some personal stuff came up for me. I got married, super excited, started trying to have kids right away, and nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Month after month after month after month. So a couple of years of this go by, and we're struggling. We wanted to have kids. We had planned on it. And, I'm working, got my client base, and I'm building a clinic at the same time and feeling pretty good about that. We decided to do some IVFs to try to have a baby. And first one doesn't work. Second one doesn't work. Third one doesn't work. So in the midst of all that, I'm trying to just try to work on accepting and try to understand what it is I'm doing wrong. Of course, it's like, oh, you got to relax. You got all kinds of reasons for, infertility to be happening. And so in the meantime, I started doing a 12-week online class. And the class was kind of for me too. It always is. As I work with patients, they in turn teach me a ton. So it's a very reciprocal kind of thing. And doing the 12 weeks of acceptance, and it really turns out to be a lot of the chapters of the book. And one day my mom mentioned, you should this should be a book. And I said, wow, that's a great idea. So I took all the week, because every week I was putting out some different things. And then so I put it all together and I started working on it. And then I started really practicing. Not that I hadn't been practicing. It was really quite a mix of my psychological, cognitive behavioral roots, along with a lot of spiritual work I had been doing, practicing and learning more about kind of a love-based shamanism in Denver, working with a beautiful community of women down there that also helped. And so it kind of all just came together. And then I just started working on it. And I just love writing. I've always been a writer and doing some writing. I actually have another book I'm working on right now that I've already written, but I have a lot of editing and additions to make because I wrote it like 10 years ago. But I just found myself, really helped by the words that were coming through me. And that's how the book came about. And I'm just so blessed and thankful. I continue to practice it. I definitely in awe of the book myself because it kind of came through.
It's an amazing book. I've like I said, I've read it, and it's actually been in my briefcase for the last 4 weeks while I've been bopping around.
Oh, thanks, Tom.
And
I appreciate it.
And one of the reasons that I wanted to bring you on the show today is the fact that some of the root causes of disease in the tree of life are stress, toxic thoughts, poor relationships, trauma in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
These, to me, are some of the keys that stop us from being the healthiest versions of ourselves. You know, this book is key, and because when I'm helping clients, clients come to me with disease and want to lose weight and want to reverse their disease. But one of the key things to me is these causes of disease that nobody ever addresses.
Yeah.
And this book is like spot on from the beginning to the end. It's full of pearls.
Thank you.
To address these issues exactly. So, like I've given this book as a gift, to people that I know and care about. It's amazing, and you start off straight off from right in the beginning, in the intro, even on page 4, about the importance of the message of this book is acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, to your point, acceptance. Please explain this a little bit to us. Like, what is acceptance to you?
Well, it's a big one. And first of all, I just want to thank you so much for having me on, to talk about mind and body things. I'm so appreciative of that because there's such a huge connection. And so, people want to address their body, but they don't always want to address their mind. There's a lot of fear there, and there's a lot of layers, and that we don't necessarily want to address.
Right.
And so, like what you're saying about the toxic thoughts and the stress and poor relationships and all that, what I kind of address right from the gate in the first chapter is resistance. There's a lot of resistance in the world. And, I've heard, stress is the number one killer. I really think resistance is the number one killer.
Yeah.
Easier said than done to not resist, because I catch myself resisting all the time with different things that are happening and flow is off or whatever happens. At the same time, if I can catch it, then I can relax into whatever the reality is that I'm trying to resist, and then kind of move into a more acceptance of the moment. And, certainly this is one of the reasons why I titled the book as I did, Mindful Lessons Toward Acceptance. I'm not enlightened. I'm never going to fully accept everything here. And many people may wonder if I did have children or not, and I did not. We did another IVF, a fourth one, and it was like, it was exhausting, overwhelming, and and I still struggle at times. And then there's moments where I'm like feeling so gifted and blessed to have the time that I have to not have children, to be able to write this book, to help others in kind of bigger ways.
Right.
So, I think when it is all said and done, acceptance is a process. It is a constant, lifelong work. And it's not like, okay, I got my mind right, I'm good to go. It's a constant work. And I'm happy to be able to help others do it and continue practicing it myself, because I will always work on this.
Yeah, you say on page 4, we must work on letting whatever is within us just be.
Mm-hmm.
I love that part because, we all look in the mirror and we, and look at ourselves, and the first thing we do is criticize ourselves.
Yep. A lot of times, yes.
Yeah. We judge ourselves and we basically mind F ourselves,
mm-hmm. Definitely.
And we have to learn to accept, just to let it be and love ourselves.
Yeah.
So I love that part in here.
Well, and it's easier said than done. It's like, oh yeah, love yourself, sure. And then what I find is that I am resisting a lot of things that I find about myself. I don't like this or that or, whatever. And so I think we've learned in our society to criticize what we don't like because that will somehow motivate us to be better. It's a really messed up theory, and research does not back it. Children of all, many ages are found that encouragement, support, love, positive words help a person, motivate, not criticism.
Right. Exactly.
We fall into the trap, and it's a pattern of thinking, conditioned pattern.
What is that? I think stinking thinking. Is that what that saying is? Stop the stinking thinking.
Yeah, isn't that Joyce Meyers?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it is Joyce Meyers.
Yep.
I love her too.
And I mean, it's like, how do you know if your thoughts are stinking? We're not even paying attention a lot of times. There's so much external stimuli going on that going within is not our first priority, yet it really should be.
Right. To your point about so much busyness in our thinking, because we're so connected to everything these days. And Facebook is your phones, you can't, we're just so connected that sometimes you got to take a step back and say, I can't do this. And at least give yourself a day away from all of it.
Absolutely. And I mean, even a moment away, right. Like to just close your eyes and listen, right. And that's one of the things about this book is that it really, from each chapter, builds on itself to help somebody look within in a kind, gentle kind of way.
And that's what, so my next sub point is, what is the best way for somebody to use this book?
Well, yep, I'm moving ahead of you already. So yeah, it really is chapter by chapter. I think, using the book to look within. If your goal is, I'd like to learn about myself a little bit more, I think the book is for you because then, you can take your time and first off, be wherever you are, allowing yourself to just be, maybe you feel anger, maybe you feel judgment, maybe whatever is going on, that it's okay. A lot of our thoughts are not who we are, but we think it is who we are. And then we believe that about ourselves and then we hate ourselves for it. We all have a shadow.
Right.
And so, I think the best way to use the book is just taking your time, take it chapter by chapter and really practice. Listen, right. There's chapter on being with your body, being with your thoughts, being with your emotions. Take the time to be with your thoughts. Listen, what do you got going on up there? Right. Some fake news potentially, I'm thinking yes. Yeah. But how do we know if it's fake? How do we know if it's some, old conditioned thought that we internalized from some abuser or whatever? Right.
And each chapter has a poem and a meditation at the end, which is amazing.
Yeah. I am a poet. I'm a musician and a songwriter. I think art is a huge aspect of balance, for life in general. And it definitely brings me and inspires me in a lot of ways. So I included some of my poetry and also some guided written meditations to help in looking within around these particular issues, right. Each chapter addressing a certain part of ourselves.
Exactly. And right, and I'm still in the introduction. We haven't got past that, but I don't want to cover the whole book, but I do want to talk about something that needs to be said as we move forward in this, is that when we talk about a higher power, to me, the higher power is God, but not everybody believes that. So
sure.
Let's talk a minute about higher power, God, the universe, because I also believe in the universe has a lot to do with it.
I agree. I'm very spiritual and I was raised, Christian and practiced in non-denominational for many years and then kind of pulled away from that. And then I came back in from a more, just a big, like an understanding that there are many paths to God.
Right.
And, and I know some would not believe that either. And that's okay. I really try to address everyone, even Christians. I want everybody to be able to read this book and not be offended or not be, feeling that, though that's not for me, because there's something going on here. My heart is beating and I'm not doing anything I don't know how this is happening. How does life happen? The essence of life itself is something to revere and honor in a sacred kind of way. And, whether you want to call that God or maybe that's the glue that holds us all together, I don't know. And none of us know is the reality.
Right.
But I think just finding something that's bigger than you. I could never have done any of this without God.
Right.
And I don't think I could do my work even in the clinic, without God. I draw in on all kinds of spiritual aspects for help and guidance and support. Because, gosh, I wouldn't want to live this life and have to do it all on my own.
I don't know if it's possible.
No, it's not.
Without
not without happy, I think feeling more happy and lighter and joyful in life doesn't mean you're not going to feel, difficult, hard, things that are tough, and that's okay too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that God is like all through this, and hopefully that doesn't deter anyone, because it's, you could focus on just anything bigger than yourself and be totally fine reading the book.
Right. And, the universe is, sometimes I think the universe speaks to me in ways that, I don't quite understand, For me, I'm affected by the moon for some damn reason.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially today, because we got a new moon in Taurus. And
it was like that Mercury and retrograde stuff just jacked me up, man.
Yeah.
I never believed in that until I just started doing this for a job. I was like, okay, wait a minute. What's this Mercury and retrograde?
It's funny when you start to pay attention.
Oh, yeah.
You notice.
It really jacked me up. This last one, I was like, oh, man, can't wait till it goes away. Let's talk about mindfulness before we continue. Mindfulness is an interesting subject because a lot of people don't understand what we mean by mindfulness. Could you integrate in that a little bit?
Mindfulness, originally was coined by Jon Kabat-Zinn, who has done tons of work in hospitals and just bringing presence to a lot of healthcare professionals overall. His definition of mindfulness is kind of what I based it on. And he says, mindfulness is being present in the moment, on purpose, without judgment. And that's, I think, a key piece is that last part of without judgment. I can be in the moment and be like, oh yeah, the birds are singing and, everything's okay. And except I got this headache or I got this thing going on and why am I this? And, or whatever. And then we start to get into judging the moment and then we kind of lose track. And so the idea is to just be there, noticing on purpose without judgment.
Perfect.
There's an allowance that goes on with that. And it's a practice because, you have to plan. We're thinking ahead. We're very future-oriented as a society, or maybe past-oriented, reviewing what we said, how we messed up. I shouldn't have said this, blah, 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 right?
Exactly.
And so, it's like, what is that doing for us?
Right.
It doesn't do anything for us. Even future, prep doesn't really quite cut it because, we show up and we're all prepped and then something else happens and then the whole thing's, spontaneous anyway.
Exactly. One of the things I cover with my clients is that, getting out of bed in the morning sets the tone for the whole day, in my opinion.
Me too.
If you lay in bed and sit there and go and moan and gripe about, I don't want to get up,
Yeah.
But if you just get up and say, hey, it's going to be an awesome day, it would change. That little tweak will put your whole day in a whole different light.
It can help. It depends. I'm a proponent of not throwing a bunch of rose petals on a pile of crap.
Right.
So like some people might wake up and they're, incredibly anxious, or they've had horrible dreams, or, they've been and have insomnia all night, and, and they're worried about, getting fired, or, tons of different problems going on. And I think that it's what helps me in the moment when I wake up is to, kind of honor, okay, whatever's going on, I'm not feeling well, or I'm not, if there's something negative going on, and then to be able to say, I can rise above this. I can breathe through this. It's okay that I feel this way, and I'm going to make the day the best I can. Yep. And I think that, it's not this rosy, crappy smell. It kind of goes along with, because I think, there's an aspect of positive psychology. Right. Like, oh, just say all the positive things, Right. And I think, if you think of the mind like a garden, we're just kind of adding, planting a bunch of stuff in a weed-ridden garden, and that's not going to work.
Bam.
All the weeds, plant seeds.
Yeah, exactly. You can drop the mic right now on that one.
Bam.
Yeah. Planning. I love that. Anyway, this moves us to the chapter 1 exactly, though, is be wherever you are. Let yourself be wherever you are and know that it's always going to be all right. And then you go into life's ups and downs. Why don't you take us there for a minute?
Yeah. Well, and really there's 3 parts to the book. It's letting the difficult be is kind of how to start. Okay. I mean, if you got a lot of difficult stuff in your life, then, just moving right into acceptance doesn't work. You have to let the difficult be, and learning how to just be wherever you are, being with the difficult, and then moving into the second part of the book, I'll just say real quick, is letting yourself be. And that's part of, getting to know yourself and being a better friend to yourself and all that. And then the last part of the book is letting oneness be. So then it's like understanding the connection that we have with everyone else. And, so many people are trying to give compassion, but they're to someone else, but they're not giving it to themselves. And it just doesn't have the same quality of energy to that. And so the very beginning of letting the difficult be is just being able to be wherever you are without judgment. Back to the mindfulness piece. Right. Without judgment, it's not useful to judge ourselves, and it only creates resistance. Judgment is resistance.
As a society, we tend to judge a lot.
Oh yeah. And maybe even as humans, right. I think, we're always making judgments, right. Positive or negative, right. But I mean, and so sometimes I think it's just useful to notice the energy that creates within us, right. Without judging our judging. Because there's people, I catch people all the time. It's like they're judging themselves for catching themselves judging. Right. And then it's like, oh no, we're just layering up here. And it's not really, if I could just catch myself judging and go, oh, I'm judging. All right. Similar to in some of the meditative, realms, they'll say thinking, catch yourself thinking and just say thinking. But there's no, because I think there is in the Buddhist realm, they're onto something in terms of attachment and attaching to good or bad, and we want more good and we try to get more good, and and then have a cup of coffee and it's like, oh, this is so good, and then it's done, and then we're sad. It's like this funny kind of thing that we just keep going over and over. And I think if we can work on just taking in and drinking in each moment in whatever kind of way, it's my human experience. Like maybe I'm sad, maybe I'm angry, maybe I'm, not happy with my weight. Maybe I'm not happy with some sort of health issue that's going on and I'm blaming myself for it or whatever. If I can catch that and notice what's happening, then that's the first step in being able to let it go. You can't let something go that you've never held and owned.
Exactly. The law of attraction on page 7. This one, I had to highlight this and then put a star by it. Consider the law of attraction. If like attracts like, then the same energy is drawn to itself. If we focus on lack, to your point, we are likely drawing more lack to ourselves. If we focus on abundance, we get more abundance. And that it feeds right into what you just said, because
Yep. Well, and it's like, if I'm judging myself, that's an energy of judgment that I'm bringing to myself in some way, I mean, and I don't need to do that. It's unnecessary. It's not helping anybody. And so, if I notice what energy I'm creating within myself, then I can look at my life and I can say, oh, well, because I'm a big proponent that we do create our life, and certainly you're not going to tell somebody that has a major problem, oh, well, you created that, but, that's not useful for anyone.
Right.
But to really look at the depth of this mind-body connection and how much power we really have in our mind, especially, and, when we can kind of take the reins of that power, then we start to see that, wow, I am kind of creating what's going on in my life and the difficulties that are happening. And I speak to that in the book a little bit and share some of my own experiences of noticing that. It's like, I did this, okay, but not judging. I am creating this and I'm going to create something new now, because now I realize what I created in the past.
Let's go be with your body now. I love the quote here. A disconnect between your mind and your body will only injure both. They need each to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
The mind-body connection is so incredibly powerful.
Big time. And, and like I said, there's all these people going to the gym, doing all the body stuff, but are they really feeling their body? Most people that I talk to, and I've talked with hundreds, maybe thousands of people over the course of my career, are living, from the neck up, and very focused on, all the tasking, all the stuff, just different analytical, I'm very analytical myself. So I totally get that. And then it's like, whoa, what's, it's like this green iridescent lamp. And then what's underneath it? It's just going all the time, my mind. And, underneath, it's like, wow, there's a whole body here. And what I found when I really do connect with my body is that it has wisdom that is very difficult to describe. The kind of wisdom that we get in our minds, okay, it's very information based, and, we take in information and, oh, okay, yes, you could read this book from a mind perspective and then really miss out on the entire experience of being a human being. Because we are, this temple, this body we have this for life. This is it. No, but we can't trade it in. We can't, shift out of it. It'd be nice, right? But then at the same time, there's a reason why I have this body. And I, and then I want to treasure it. I want to honor it as much as I can. Even if it doesn't, if it's not the greatest friend to me, or if it's hurting, or, I think a lot of people who are in a lot of pain, that is, ripe for judgment and ripe for moving to an experience of neck up, because it's hard to experience the body in that way. And so I understand that, and so what I encourage people to do with that is just take it, one step at a time, very gentle, very slowly, consider what you're experiencing just for moments here and there, even right now, like sitting in a chair, maybe you're driving, maybe you're whatever you're doing while you're listening to this podcast, that you're, you could feel your body. You absolutely can. And you can breathe into it. And then you can come right back up to the mind if needed. It's a great coping skill. It's not something that we want to be doing all the time.
And to your point, our society kind of creates this also with, and the commercials, and, you turn on the TV, which I don't hardly ever do anymore. But I had a laugh. I was at a hotel room in Orlando last week, And in the shower, they had anti-aging shampoo. I should have took a picture. Because I was like, really? So if I use this shampoo, my hair is going to look better. But yeah, I mean, it's that whole mentality of like, as I'm approaching an age that I'm getting older. And,
yeah, me too.
And I see, and I see this, the wrinkles around my, I guess not really wrinkles, but I'm starting to get some jowls. I'll be honest, and I'm looking and I'm like, okay, how can I fix these jowls?
Yep.
Instead of just being happy with the jowls.
It's like, I'm alive.
Right.
Oof. Thank goodness. Because you're not going to get out of this life wrinkle free if you're going to keep living.
Right. Exactly. So you get into that not good enough mentality. So I really want you to go through this because, I mean, commercials, pharmaceuticals, Botox, tummy tucks, lifts, our whole society is,
it's all like change it,
right.
Hide it,
right.
Stop, judge it, keep judging it, resist it the best that you can. I mean, I see this not good enough mentality everywhere. And I see it in my own mind too. I think that it is a consequence of our society and the marketing techniques that are used in a capitalistic society. And I think it's unfortunate, but I also think that we can rise above that and understand that, anti-aging shampoo, come on. I know I'm going to continue aging. And if I use the shampoo or not, right. I mean, they're just trying to get people to I think they're selling to the ego of the society. And, most of us are not really in touch with our ego. Who wants to be in touch with your ego? It's really annoying in there,
Right.
I mean, my ego is annoying as hell. So, just to be able to take a step back and go, oh, hello, ego, what are you doing there? And just have there's nothing to fear. And I do think that is what it really comes down to, is fear of not being accepted, not being loved, not being popular, whatever it may be. It's this, I have to push to be better, to look better, to feel better, to perform better. Whatever it may be, it's a pushing that is now, I think, conditioned within our pattern of thinking that we don't even realize. But I think once I've started to realize that a little bit more, it's like, wow, I am good enough. Like, good enough for what? Or for who? For me. That's what it really is all coming down to, because everybody's going to come and go and pass away or this or that. I mean, the only person I have is myself.
Right.
And so, I mean, if I can understand within myself that, hey, I am, I'm doing the best I can, there's really no bar, and it's not throwing my motivation. It's not making me like lazy on the couch. Screw it. I don't have to try. No, I feel encouraged. I feel more excited about, whatever else I'm, what my goals are, or what I want to achieve in life.
Right. It's hard. Fear and negative thoughts are, and we all have them.
Mm-hmm.
We all have them. I have negative thoughts a lot. And,
me too.
I beat myself up about a mistake I made, or I beat myself up about, and so we all do it, but it's just, when you really sit and look at it, it's counterproductive.
Very. And I think it leads to a lot of disease.
Exactly.
Dis-ease, right?
Exactly.
Because I'm very uneased by the way that I may talk to myself in that sense, right? I mean, it feels uneasy. It doesn't feel good. And that creates more problems with the body. The body starts to, like, wait a second, what's going on here? Like, we don't like each other. Like, there's an inner enemy that's not going to work. Well,
and to that point, it affects our sleep. It affects the way we eat. It affects what we eat.
Yeah.
When
Absolutely.
We're feeling that way.
Like, screw it, I'm having a bag of chips.
Right.
Everything.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It affects, and when sleep is a big one. When you stay up all night worrying, you're just killing your
exhausting
rhythm, man. It's just like, and then the next day is all blown.
Yeah.
And then the thoughts keep compounding because you didn't sleep. Now you feel like crap. And now it's a big...
Right. It affects your performance. Then you're more likely to make mistakes. And then you're mad at yourself about a mistake and then worried about the future. It's a tricky mind game that, and I really do think that, our evolution and our continuing connection as a society, we have got to work on this.
Right.
Because, if we continue this way, this is going to cause more and more. I mean, I see it, the disease piece from a, individual human perspective. And then I also see the disease piece from a collective perspective. And the only way to heal is to start within.
Right. All these things play a role in heart disease, cancer, anxiety, depression.
Yeah.
It just chronic fatigue, hormones. It's a cascade effect.
It does.
And it's not just, people think it's just the food we eat. It's not just the food we eat.
That's one factor.
I think this is like a third of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a healing quality I have within myself that as I move through this book or, work on things for myself, I get more in touch with.
Right.
And, that doesn't mean that somebody might have some thyroid issue and be like, oh my gosh, am I beating myself up? I don't know. Maybe, and again, be careful of that. I just want to, alert listeners around that, just to whatever, if you're having thyroid issues, okay, be wherever you are and just start there.
Right.
Don't start with, well, I did this in the past and I should have this and should, and don't should on yourself because that ends up making, a person feel really bad. And it doesn't help the body and the homeostasis that we're trying to return to with this kind of balance.
Exactly. We're going to go to Be Your Breath because this is an interesting chapter. Because I have a bracelet that says breathe on it. And I like to tell people just breathe.
Yes.
This is be with your breath.
Yes. We're not noticing our breath.
Right. Exactly.
And, most of us, you cinch the belt and everything, and then it's just chest breath. If you look at every baby that's born into the world, they are belly breathing every time. And that is what diaphragmatic breathing is just belly breathing, using your belly to breathe. And I kind of think of the belly as like this kind of oxygen hub, and when we breathe through our belly, and maybe, as you're listening, you take a couple breaths into your belly and just kind of notice how your body feels, which is why I did the Be With Your Breath chapter after the Be With Your Body chapter, so that you kind of have a sense of your body already. And what I feel when I take deep breaths, and I don't wait till I'm anxious to take a deep breath. I just try to breathe like that normally if I can. And as I'm breathing, I notice there's a little bit of more relaxation. And that is the oxygen getting into our limbs. Oxygen does not, from our chest, disperse out into our limbs like it does when we belly breathe. And so, there's a huge case for we need to relax. And we need to learn how to relax and how to self-soothe ourselves in a chaotic environment that, maybe within your home or maybe within society, wherever you're at, there's a lot of chaos in the external world. And so how can we relax? The breath is huge for that. It also is very helpful in terms of managing stress and managing pain. Hugely with pain. I found that, it's like the first thing I'm doing when it's like, oh, I'm in pain. Am I breathing right? Okay, go straight to the breath for some support and some help. And so being with your breath, it's just huge. And there are many, many benefits. I do talk a lot more in the book about the benefits of breath, just how it's helped me in different ways, during a massage or, having certain time of the month cramps or whatever's going on. that when I'm really connected there, it is a really beautiful way to connect with myself and a beautiful way to connect with the world, because we're all breathing the same air.
Yeah, exactly. And this breathing technique that you talk about is it's just basically deep breaths, right, from the belly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's lots of different techniques that, in terms of like 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out,
right.
Or, 3 seconds in, 5 seconds out. There's some different, and you might, and I talk about it a little bit in the book, you might practice a little bit just to see how you feel. Some people, and a lot of times, meditating and focusing on the breath, for me, that's not ideal. I for whatever reason, and I've heard this from many people who meditate, focusing on the breath sometimes throws off the natural cycle of the breath. And I find that to be the case for myself. So, I'm not going to judge myself for it.
Right.
I'm going to use other meditative techniques around it, or maybe some counting or different things. I meditate in various ways. And a lot of the different chapters review a lot of different types of meditation. There's as many types of meditation as there are exercise.
Exactly.
And that's probably a whole other conversation.
That's okay. You can go wherever you want with this, is my opinion.
That's true.
And then
that's
the whole
true.
book is, I'm trying to cover your 3 points. So
letting the difficult be, letting yourself be,
right,
and letting oneness be.
Okay.
And right now, even with the breathing, that's really, letting the difficult be.
Right.
Breath is great for stress. And, you're having a very difficult time, or I've had some, issues with my family. My dad had a heart attack on the day my book launched, which was wild and very difficult. He's fine and he's doing well and, continuing to recover. But certainly a lot of breathing that day.
Yeah, I'll bet.
It's like any kind of difficult things that come up in life, the breath is there to support us and to hold us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really, I can't speak to how important the breath is enough, especially for letting the difficult be.
And is your dad doing all right? You said?
Oh yeah, he's doing really, really well, recovering. And,
good.
There's always some after effects,
right?
Psychologically, it's a scary kind of thing.
It's hard.
And it came out of nowhere. So,
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Well, there are gifts in every difficult aspect. And, I get to that toward the end of the book, with the letting oneness be, because then you start to see, there are gifts. There are gems in every difficult situation that we run into, always. And sometimes it takes years to find it. Sometimes minutes.
Minutes, and sometimes, yeah, you're right. That's a very good point. To sign up for my monthly newsletter, text RHCP, that's Rebel Health Coach Podcast, or Red Hot Chili Peppers, to 22828. Again, that's RHCP to 22828. Thank you and have an awesome day. All right, be compassionate friend to yourself. Fall in love with your observer and be gentle, loving friend to your sacred self and your inner child. Like I said, this book is just full of pearls, but that one I want you to expand on, because this is something everyone struggles with to agree. Yeah, everyone. I think everyone, because it's so hard to like some parts of ourselves that are dark. Right. And so, the letting this is moving now into the letting yourself be. Right. And, if I'm going to let myself be, I have got to be a friend to myself. And, I have found that the more friendly I am with myself, the more I feel, the more ease I feel. And,
we don't have any, I mean, like I said before, people are coming into our lives and leaving, various times. We never know. Life is so fragile, right?
Right.
And so, but the one person I know I'm always going to have is me. And that's it. Till my dying breath, I got me. And I really hope that I can, address some aspects of myself that I don't like. And, all of those negative aspects of myself is all riddled in fear. And, we see that outside of ourselves, like, oh, well, that guy was just really mean because he had a really hard day and it was really tough. And we have all this compassion for him or her or whoever outside of ourselves. But then within, we're just, well, you shouldn't have been that way. And, you were just mean and what the hell? And, I just hate myself. And, there's that bully or inner kind of bully there that's trying to change this part of ourselves. And it doesn't work. And what helps, what has, worked for me is just to kind of take a step back and go, oh, well, that's a part of myself that I don't really want to reinforce. And I don't really want to continue judging or resisting, but how do I bring some love to that? And I think of myself as I would think of someone that I love. And what would I say to them? How would I, and then even inside myself, there's like a little girl, very irrational. I say very irrational things sometimes in my head. And I'm like, what the heck? It's almost like this little girl who's super scared. And so then, I have to kind of bring up my inner parent and, offer her words of encouragement and support and love. And man, does that increase my self-confidence when I do that. It's really amazing. I've noticed where I, just give that a little bit of support. If I think of myself like a little girl, like a 6-year-old little girl that's sitting in front of me, there's no way I'm saying mean stuff like, well, you shouldn't have this and you shouldn't have that. That's not helpful. And so being a compassionate friend to yourself is really about learning how to bring the compassion that many of us have for others into ourselves, and maybe even using some objective ways to think about ourselves, like so that, maybe there's the inner child or the inner adolescent or the inner parent or, right? There's a lot of different facets within. So you could use those facets to bring a little bit more of an objective perspective to your mind.
Okay.
And that was, I know we can't talk about every chapter, but earlier is really being with your observer. And there is an observer within us all the time, observing what we're saying, and the more we get in contact with that, in touch with that, the more we notice what's going on inside. And then if we're not getting super reactive to it, then we can just kind of see how it all plays out and we understand the patterns. Then we can change the patterns.
You brought up a key word there for me, at least, is reactive.
Yeah.
Versus active.
Or responsive.
Or
even.
responsive, right.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we react
big time
to things instead of think about it before we act.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guilty of that as the next. And
Oh yeah, we all are. There's no way, it's like, it's easy to just move into fight or flight, freak out, like, but then what I like about the being with your observer is that I can kind of go, I just got reactive there. That's like my observer,
right.
My inner objective outlook, that I can kind of see that, I just did that. Okay, well, all right, I can step back. At any time I'm reacting, I can catch myself reacting and take a step back and respond. At any time, there's no, I just went over the line, screw it. It's, I can walk over the line and I can step back at any time. I can catch myself saying a really mean thought or statement to myself and say, that's not okay. I'm so sorry I just said that. And I do catch and I will apologize. I'm so sorry I just said that. Like I would to a compassionate, a friend. I certainly, there's times when we get reactive, even with, a friend or a loved one. And we get reactive with ourselves. And so I've apologized many times. And then I say, I pulled a weed and I planted the seed. I was like, oh, sorry, that's not really what I meant to say. I got reactive. What I meant to say was you're doing the best you can. And, everything, is going just the way it needs to.
Yeah, that's one of my flaws that I've been working on is passive aggressive comments.
It's so easy to fall into that.
Yeah.
Well, because then, what does it really mean to not be passive aggressive? It means to be assertive with one's anger. And it's hard to do.
Right.
Like, hey, I feel angry about this.
Right.
And then it's like, there's so many big aspects to that, because certainly one person might say, I feel angry about that. One person might say, well, tough shit,
Right.
or I don't know if I can swear. Sorry. But,
you can swear.
Oh, good. Well, that's good. Good to know. And then another person might say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Right.
And then, but you don't really know. And it's so uncomfortable and foreign, and I really want to drive home just how foreign a lot of this work is, which is why no one's doing, well, not no one,
right.
but not a very large percentage of the population is doing it, because it's uncomfortable and it's very foreign. And where do we go? We go to what we know and what feels comfortable, even if it's totally dysfunctional.
Right. And that's sad.
It is sad, but it's understandable. Because it's like safety and security. It's like, I like to go where I know, even if it's not ideal, then you start to move into something that you're not really familiar with, and you find, wow, I actually feel better, even though it feels so uncomfortable. And I think that this whole compassionate friend to self, it's almost like back to the positive psychology that we were talking about. It's like, I hear people saying, like, I feel weird saying positive things to myself. It just feels odd. And it just doesn't feel right. And it's like, well, of course it doesn't feel right. You have talked to yourself. It's like an abuser all of a sudden saying, hey, I love you. And I, totally, am going to therapy or something. And, it's like, what? It's odd, and it's hard to trust. And I think that there's a building of trust that needs to be done with ourselves, that a lot of times, we kind of mess up and then we're like, screw them, screw this whole part of myself. I'm back to external. And so if we can go back in and kind of say, listen, I'm building the trust. Just like if like a spouse had an affair, you're not going to just like jump right back in and be like, okay, well, let's work on this. Like, yay. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of, distrust. Like, I don't trust that you're really going to do this. I don't trust that you're going to be compassionate with me. And I've noticed that in my, when I check in with the little girl, she's like, you haven't listened to me. I'm not telling you anything. And then it took me some time to say, no, I know I haven't listened, but I am now listening. And she says the funniest things sometimes. So, I just try to honor it, and we kind of laugh. And there's a lot there. So much that we're missing.
Love it, love it, love it.
Me too.
All right, let's dive into and be with your self-care needs. Nourish your mind, body, and soul using a variety of tools in your toolbox.
Yes.
Now, of course, this chapter spoke to me a lot because it talks about, self-care as far as all aspects of it. And this is the part that, there's a lot in here. And this chapter is full, well, the book's full of pearls, but this one stuck out to me a lot for some reason. Maybe it's where I'm at in my life right now, or maybe it's because this is what I do a lot of. But this is really good.
Well, and it's like, it could be its own book, this chapter. I tell you, I really, I wanted to address a lot of things, but there's a lot going on in this chapter.
Yeah.
So, obviously, if you're going to be a compassionate friend to yourself, you have to care for yourself in a loving manner. And this body, this mind is not it is a lot of maintenance. Let's face it, think about all the hours and hours and hours of, I would say at least, 3/4 of our life is maintenance.
Oh, yeah.
Get into the restroom or getting to wash our hands or, wash our body and comb our hair and cream up or whatever it is, there's a lot. And so, and a lot of people, kind of take that for granted, I think sometimes. It's just like, oh, whatever, it's just what I'm doing or whatever. But there's a way that it can be done with a little bit more love and not so much resistance and judgment. And I think a big part, and I go right in the very beginning of the chapter, I go right into just identifying what we need. That is huge. I've asked a lot of people, and granted, when people show up to my office, they're, in pretty bad shape, right? Or they're having major symptoms at that point. And so, asking people like, well, what do you think you need? And just to kind of get a sense sometimes. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know. That's why I'm here, And I think, I've asked people that are not in my office even that question, and it's not an easy answer. And each moment is going to change, right? Because our needs shift based on what's going on. So, I have, a whole list of 11, needs that I have, kind of researched and thought about, and, it's like, we need love. Obviously, we need trust. We need to feel some worth, which, of course, negative, talk, self-talk, and criticism stuff just drains our worth. Feels good to have some freedom, autonomy. It feels good to be authentic. I don't want to have to show up and not be myself because somebody is going to judge me because I'm myself, or whatever it is that I might be thinking in my head. And usually any thought I have about someone judging me is my own thought, not somebody judging me.
Yeah.
So, just the need of creativity, variety, connection, capability, well-being, harmony, and contribution, mutuality. We need to feel cooperative. And a lot of times I think people are very isolated in their own work and what they're doing and stuff. Right. So I think first off, really in being with your self-care needs is understanding, what do I need? And if you don't know, that's okay too. Again, it's not, I don't know what I need. I think I need love. It's a slow process of learning because knowledge is power, and self-knowledge gives you more of the reins to the power.
Right. Myself, I'm a giver. So, and that's sometimes not always a good place to be.
Right. Well, not as long as if you're giving to yourself and filling your cup.
Right. But if you're giving to others and not filling your own cup, it backfires on you eventually. Yeah. You start feeling worthless.
Yes. And exhausted and drained.
Right. And drained.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's hard because I do think, and I even struggle with this sometimes too, is like, how do I fill my cup up? I can look at this list of needs and things and be like, all right, great, but how do I fill my cup up? Because I feel really depleted right now. And so, for each person, that is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be a standard. Okay, you need to do this, and that. Everyone is so unique. And, you know the answer to that. When you start to look within, it starts to become a little bit more clear.
Right. I love the metaphor in here about the invisible fisherman's coat, or you called it a coat. I call them a vest, but the same difference.
Well, yeah, because it's like, I think of the fisherman's coat, it's got all these pockets, like tons of different pockets.
Yeah.
And, I think a lot of times we are put in stress, difficult situations that we don't want to deal with, judgments, resistances, things that we don't like, things we don't like about ourselves. Just stick it in a coat pocket, stick it in one pocket, stick it in another pocket. And then all of a sudden, kind of walking around, like feeling really heavy. It's like, what the heck is in all these pockets? It's a metaphor for essentially the coping skill of compartmentalization.
Right.
Which we are all in the society quite good at, just put it in a room and put it away. But then, the room starts exploding, the pockets start, things start falling out of it. And then it's getting heavy and you realize, wow, like I'm tired carrying this thing around. What's in here? And it's like, oh crap. It starts to feel way overwhelming to unpack. And a lot of times people end up in my office at that point, if the compartmentalization isn't working anymore, but I do think that instead of waiting until, because eventually it's going to either start feeling heavy, start to unpack on its own, maybe in ways that are not benefiting you, starting to get reactive. So being able to kind of just take that step back and, one pocket at a time, just unpack a little bit here and there. Like, what is this? No judgment, using the mindfulness, taking the breaths, using your observer, watching your thoughts. Again, it's all the stuff from the first part of the book of letting, the difficult be, and then apply, how can I clean out this one pocket at a time kind of a thing, and not feel so overwhelmed. Because I think that a lot of people think, oh, if I go within, it's so uncomfortable, it's so foreign, it's just so scary. I'm definitely going to be overwhelmed. Tidal wave, I'll be done, flailing off to the mental hospital or something. And that is so not true. Little bit at a time really goes a long way.
And then you have to throw communication, because a lot of people don't know how to communicate their needs,
right,
to other people.
That is so true. Well, I mean, and I think it's a
or to ourselves,
right. I mean, if you don't know what you need, then how are you going to be able to communicate it? But it really does help if you do know what you need, to let others know. I mean, there's so many, and I've even caught myself, falling into the mind reading. Well, they should know that I need this.
Right.
And then it's like, they have no clue. I have no clue what someone else is thinking they need, right? I mean, I might pick up on, an empathic kind of a thing, but that's kind of a lot to expect others to be doing all the time, especially in such a, bright, shiny, light world. And so, understanding what you need really can help to communicate to others what you're needing. And then certainly building trust within and building trust with others around that, asking what you can, and then maybe they say no, maybe they say yes, like whatever it is, it really can help. It's the building again about in our, getting to the last part of the book of, letting the oneness be and feeling our connection to each other. Because if we're not communicating, then we're not connected.
Right. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's tough. This whole thing is tough. Letting it be is an incredibly difficult process. And I, like I said, it's a process, not a destination.
Yeah, exactly. And I think because of that is one of the reasons why, as a society, we are so sick.
Yeah, I agree.
Sadly.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's just not granted, our food is not perfect.
No.
I mean, our whole mind, body, and self-love thing has really gone by the wayside. And it's, if you think about back, I was thinking about this as I was preparing for this episode. If you think about back before cell phones, when we actually had to be somewhere to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And we had no way to call them and say, hey, we're running late.
Yep.
If you even go further back, our grandparents, who were probably way healthier than any of us, because they didn't have all that. We turn on the TV today. It's if you even watch the news, which I can't stand to, it's nothing but negativity. We're connected to everything, and we also have this need for instant gratification that we didn't have back then. And also, our children today, we have an obesity crisis in children because the fact that they don't stop away from this box, the TV, the video games. They don't go out and play like we used to. Ride the bike, get dirty.
Yep.
And it's sad, but this is where we're at. So we have to learn how to deal with it. And this book is perfect for dealing with this.
Yep. And changing, slowly but surely the world inside out.
I wish I could say that I'll be around to see that, but
I don't know that I'll be around to see that either. And that's okay. I mean,
that's okay.
I'm not, I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to push it either. We get real pushy with ourselves and with others, wanting progress. I want to see change now, and And really, a lot of times before change really occurs, a lot of muck has to kind of come up and we have to kind of sit with it.
Right.
This is kind of what we're doing in our society right now. And this is what we can, what we have to do with ourselves. And what I find with the muck within me is that inside that muck are, like you were using the phrase, pearls.
Right.
And I'm so glad I'm looking there, because I am learning so much more about what it means to be a human being.
Right.
And not such a human doing.
Right. I want to move on to the third part before we go.
Okay.
But I want to talk just briefly about the 6 key areas of self-care, which you can just run through them, because I really think that people need to go back and read this. But go ahead and cover those the six mind, body, and brain care part.
I mean, real quick, there is tons of information on this all around, but it's important to address what we can do, on the outside, and we can exercise. And so first of all, one of the reasons I brought this up is, I don't know the exact percentage now, but I know that it's incredibly high of people who are on antidepressants.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's like 3 out of 4 people or something like that. And, for some people, absolutely, these antidepressants are God sent, and we're so thankful and grateful to have them to help regulate, the hormones and the neurotransmitters in our brain.
Right.
I do think people jump to that a little bit too quickly.
Right.
And so one of the things that these 6 aspects address is, okay, if you're not feeling so good in your mind, these are some things that can help, before meds.
Right.
Even though the 6th one is medication. So first, exercise, get moving, whatever it is. And even the term exercise is kind of like meditation is like, I don't want to deal, but then we do it and then we feel good. And then we're like, well, yeah. Try to move your body. Don't call it exercise if it's got a negative connotation. You just move. Your nutrition, like we were saying, what we're eating, are we eating a bunch of processed foods and things that are just riddled with chemicals, that our FDA has not banned, but are banned in several other countries. This is really scary stuff. So, trying to eat a balanced, mindful diet as much as you can. And I know that for some that's, that don't have the socioeconomic status to buy organic vegetables and different, that's a real kicker. And, but I think just doing the best that you can of eating vegetables and washing them, as best you can, and trying not to buy a lot of boxed stuff that you're making.
Yeah. As far as the food goes, frozen vegetables would be better than.
There you go.
Right.
Than the fresh, non-organic.
Right.
Okay, that's good to know. So mindfulness meditation, being in the present, whether you want to do a meditation, quote unquote, or you want to just sit around and you're in this chair and you're taking a breath in and you're in the present moment right here, right now. Use your senses. If you catch yourself in the future, just bring yourself back in the moment at any time. It's like I said, a process, because our mind is going to just wander. This mind is like a untamed mare. It's just like wild in our head sometimes, and it feels crazy to try to tame a wild horse.
Right.
And it is hard, but it's doable. And so it starts with present moment.
Right.
And I even say the fabric of now weaves a blanket of peace.
Yep.
Love that. Okay, sleep. Obviously, getting the proper amount of sleep. Everybody's like, yeah, well, I know that, but I can't sleep. It's like, well, I used to work at a sleep disorders clinic, and one of the biggest things that they would say is don't lay in bed longer than 20 minutes while you're just thinking. Get up and train your brain that bed is not made for thinking. That bed is made for sleeping, or, maybe other things. But, sitting in a chair, very non-technical, not a lot of stimuli, and breathe, you start to get tired again. And then you can go back to bed. Maybe 20 minutes goes by again, get up. Don't lay there longer. So that's one little tip for you. Hormones, obviously, hormones play a big role in our mood and how we feel. So making sure to, get checked out, have an understanding of if your hormones are a little wacky or off, and then medication. That's the last case scenario, in my opinion. Wait, if you are feeling depressed or anxious and you're like, I gotta, if you can get on top of it early,
right,
work on some of these things, you will see a difference.
Right.
And, of course you'd see a difference if you go straight to your PCP and get some medication too. Right. It's just, how do you get off it? And you can, it's just a little bit harder. It's just a little bit easier if you address these things first.
Right. That's where I come in.
Yep. That's where you come in.
I help people get off medication, but.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, I love that. Because I think that's a big problem, and then all these people are, feeling like, well, this is it. Am I depressed? And they go off the medication thinking, well, this isn't doing anything for me. And then all of a sudden they're feeling depressed again, like super bad. And so having these things in place and then working on, weaning off and understanding that there's going to be a little bump around neurotransmitters getting balanced again. That's where it is. It's a moderate path.
Yes, it's a moderate path. It's a slow path, but it's a moderate path, and it can be done.
It can.
All right, let's talk about the final, be with God and the essence of life. Yeah.
So moving into the last part of the book of, being or letting oneness be.
Right.
Here we're working towards surrender, connection, and just the building of our spirit. We are meant to be connected with each other. And we are meant to be connected with ourselves. I think one of the reasons why we're not connecting with each other as often, or, connecting through Facebook and things, is a totally different thing. This true connection and intimacy with others, it comes from a place where we're connected with ourselves. And then we connect with others. Right. So I go into, obviously, be with God and the essence of life. I could have put this chapter pretty much anywhere in the book. I thought about putting it in the beginning, and I decided to just kind of stick with oneself and then go bigger.
Yep.
And so, just really kind of taking all of the chapters that we've talked about and then bringing it into this bigger force that we are a part of. It's one of the reasons I'm more spiritual. I'm not one for, saying that, God is outside of us and that we are, we must find it outside of us. If we're connected and there's all this oneness going around, then God is within us. I don't know how I found all those words to write and everything that I did. That was coming through me, and it was through a connection. And as I connect, the more I connect, the more, and who knows? I don't have, the complete understanding. No one does of what this really is. I'm just going to tap in.
Right.
I can do that with, just bow to the great mystery of it all, because I don't know. And I won't pretend to know.
Right.
But I do know that we are very unique, and yet we are all the same.
That chapter reminded me, or this part of it reminds me of there's a picture of everybody sitting around a dining room table on their cell phones and not connecting.
Mm-hmm. Like texting each other across the table or something. What's going on here?
Yeah. Like, what happened to bonfires?
Yeah. And I do think that technology has really changed our relationships with each other in a major way, that if we don't get a hold of this, I think it's really going to cause more problems in the world and in our, and just in our connection. And we've got to stay connected.
And we got to stay connected to ourselves.
Yep. That's the glue that connects us to each other in some ways.
Yep. Well, Lisa, this was amazing.
Oh, Tom, this was such an honor and a pleasure to chat with you today.
I can't remember the last time we physically saw each other, but it's been a while.
It's been a long time.
Sitting at the bar, sitting at the door at Bell's, and
Yep.
And then Now you're married to Jeffy.
I know. I love it.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. That's a universe thing there.
Oh, that's a definite universe thing, because we were really good friends for a really long time, and then just something shifted, and the veil got taken away, and it was like, oh, well, hello there. Well, how did I miss you this whole time? He's amazing.
Yeah,
he's an amazing husband.
One last question before I go, and I ask this of all my guests, is if you had an hour to just kill, what album or artist would you listen to?
It really always depends on my mood.
Right.
And I guess if I'm really in the mood to just listen to music and I just want to hear, it probably would be The Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd.
Good album. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's roughly an hour.
Yeah, it is roughly an hour. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
And just filled with sound and just such a beauty. And
that is an amazing album. That's probably one of my top 10 albums of all time.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I will put the link to this in the show notes to purchase this book on Amazon. And any other links that you have, please give them to me.
Yeah, okay. Well, drlisatempleton.com is, you can always find out what's going on with me. And I do have in the next few months, I am going to be doing another online course.
Okay.
About going within. Haven't, nailed down the exact title yet, but it is about learning how to go within yourself.
And will that be available on your website?
Yep.
So
I have that all listed.
People go to your website? Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining in today with the Rebel Health Coach, Tom Underwood. And be sure to subscribe to the show so you can catch all the episodes. With desire and commitment, you can implement a lifestyle of wellness and fitness. For the support, encouragement, and tools you need to be successful, visit tomunderwood.net.